And then we found out about 2.5 years into it that we were going to Birmingham. The conference, typically, before you pick your theme, kind of where you're going, but with COVID and all the beautiful things that went with that, we found out later that we were going to Birmingham, but we are excited about going to Birmingham.
Absolutely. And we're also really excited about our leadership, and also, some of our leadership became very clear when we started exploring the theme. And then some of our leadership became really clear when we found out we were going to Birmingham. And I think having the both and of that is going to make this conference just really a really special place to be. So with that, I think I'm going to share my screen and navigate you a little bit through the website. And I want to acknowledge the hard and diligent work of not only our annual events team, hey, Betty Case, but also the communications and resources team. These individuals have worked tirelessly in the past couple weeks to really pull this website together in a variety of ways. And we're just so grateful for all of the work and the collaboration that has made that possible. So if you go to the upcoming events, you'll see the 2023 annual event. And if you go down here to the About, you can find kind of this landing spot where you can find out all of the really important information really quickly at your fingertips. And I'm going to take us here to leadership so we can talk a little bit about who will be kind of guiding us through this theme in this place. So we're really, really excited about our plenary speaker for the course of the entire conference, and also a hybrid workshop leader, and that is John Pavlovitz. Some of you probably are familiar with John's work as an author. I think a few years ago it was A Bigger Table, and more recently it was it was post-pandemic that he released this book, but nearly a week before he had brain surgery, he released the book called If God is Love, Don't Be a Jerk. And if you haven't had a chance to read either of those, highly recommend. But you may know him as an author, clinician, blogger, speaker, former megachurch pastor. But John is going to be taking us through the course of the plenary sessions. He's done some really remarkable work, particularly around grief and lament at the loss of his father. And so we're really excited that John is going to be with us as a plenary speaker, but also as a workshop clinician. Shall I go on down the list here, Mary Todd? So I know I'm going to have to jump a few down, but I want to make sure you get to the right one.
Yes, so we were thrilled to have Michael W. Waters be joining us as a preacher and also a workshop leader. I believe he's leading the hybrid workshop as well. Michael is the founding pastor of Abundant Life AME Church in Dallas, Texas. He's a pastor, professor, author, activist, and social commentator. He has written many books, but two that you might be familiar with are For Beautiful Black Boys Who Believe in a Better World and Liberty Civil Rights Road Trip, which he will be talking about that book for his workshop. And if you register for his workshop, you will get a copy of the book, but only in person only. We weren't able to figure out how to do that hybrid. They have 4 children, and he has a lot of connections with the civil rights experience. He is an expert in that arena. When we met with him, he was surrounded by artifacts from touring, and he introduced us to several things that he had. It was quite a history lesson. He's a wonderful speaker and writer, and I think y'all will be excited to have him. He is doing our opening worship.
So moving on up, we have Katie Nakamura Rangers. Katie comes to us from the Episcopal Church. She is our local pastor. She is a Birmingham native, grew up in Birmingham, and she serves on the staff of the presiding bishop. She specifically works in kind of those emerging ministry spaces. And the Abbey was a ministry that she launched in Birmingham that specifically dealt with people who are facing home insecurity and how you can how we dignify their belonging and belovedness in our church context when we see them as more than just someone who lacks an address. And so we're really excited to have Katie as a worship preacher joining us for this conference.
And CC Armstrong is a Presbyterian pastor. She is at St. James Presbyterian Church in James Island, South Carolina. She most recently preached at 2 of the Montreat Youth Conferences, week 5 and 6. I was delighted to be there to hear CC. And one of my youth said of her preaching that she both scares me, but excites me as well. And he said, why can't our preaching at New Hope be like CC Armstrong preaching? And there's only one CC Armstrong, so that's why. She has many connections to Birmingham, and it was exciting when we talked to her about coming, her energy, enthusiasm for Birmingham and being there. And she will be our closing pastor on Saturday.
So that takes us to 2 of the most creative people. They're all creative people, but 2 of our very creative artistic individuals, G. Philip Schultz and Mary Beth Button. G. Philip Schultz III. Some of you who joined our virtual conference in 2020 might remember some of his work that was featured as part of worship, specifically the movement, I don't know if you want to call it the movement stomped or step choir. That was a collaboration that Philip put together. He is, I guess I would call him a musical entrepreneur. He directs, he co-creates, he considers himself a pastoral musician. He's also an educator on staff as professor. He is just such a creative musical force, and we are so grateful to have him leading not only the musical aspects of our worship services, but also as artistic liturgist, crafting the liturgies. And I think how those 2 will speak to one another hand in hand is just going to make for such a beautiful flow to our worship time together. And we're specifically excited about the opportunity to have a musically based expression of worship on Thursday morning. So we're really excited to have Philip joining us. And our conference artist, whose work you will see displayed not only as part of worship, but also on the screens. If you're joining virtually, you'll see her music or her work throughout, but also in the Spirituality Center. Mary Beth Button, she comes to us from the Lutheran Church. She's a pastor in the Lutheran Church. She is a curriculum developer, an artist, and she does not shy away from exploring really difficult issues. And of course, when we found out about her work as it spoke to our theme, we just felt like this is exactly the person that we felt visually was able to represent some of the themes that we're going to explore with our conference. Some of her Stations of the Cross work, which will become part of our conference, deals with mental health, deals with issues of social justice, racism, the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, climate change, mass migration. So she has mass incarceration. She's really dealt with a lot of really difficult topics while still being able to infuse elements of creativity and hope and light in those works. And we're just really, really thrilled that she's going to be able to be with us as part of this conference.
So that is an overview of our leaders. On Thursday, our worship service will be meditative and contemplative with music that Philip is going to create. So we have 3 preachers, 1 plenary workshop leader, 1 plenary leader, and then we have a musical worship on Thursday.